Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and my team selection video for Game Week 9, where we're going to go through what happened in Game Week 8. We're going to look at my free hit draft that I had for you guys for Game Week 8, which did not go so well. I'm going to make another free hit draft for Game Week 9 in case you're using that chip this game week. And then finally, we're going to have my plans for Game Week 9 as well. But starting with Game Week 8, another pretty good game week, another green arrow, my, 7th green arrow in a row now. I haven't had a single red arrow so far this season, and I'm 49k overall. Really happy with that overall. 74 points in total this past game week. Had a bit of a letdown in the Monday game with my two West Ham boys, Geoff and Bowen, getting a combined 3 points. Geoff not even starting against Brentford at home, and Bowen just doing nothing really. He had one decent shot, but that was just about it, really. But yeah, I've gone through this team already in a different video earlier in this week, so I'm not going to bore you too much with the details there. But Dubravka getting some really nice points there, 9 points as my goalkeeper, starting rather than Sels, who's been terrible, but Dubravka has been really good when called upon for my team. Timber and Gabriel getting 18 points combined there. Gabriel with 12, another assist from him, bonus points. He's fantastic. Timber another clean sheet. Semenyo with another assist, should have been 2, but again, it's just a small inadvertent touch that was lucky anyway. So yeah, I'm not really too fussed about that. But 9 points from Mbeumo, I'm really fussed about that because that saved my game week in terms of getting another green arrow. 9 points from him was unsuspected, or unexpected, I should say, against Liverpool. So really nice to see that, and he is someone that I might look to keep long term now as well. Potentially, we're going to get into that eventually with my plans for Game Week 9 also. Sar and Reinders also kind of disappointing. 2 points from Sar, my new signing. I brought him in for Rodgers, who scored and got 7 points, so I lost 5 points from that. But I think, judging off the 2 games, like I mentioned previously in a different video, Aston Villa created almost no chances in their game against Spurs, and Palace created so many chances against Bournemouth. So I think the transfer in itself was like a decent transfer, but unfortunately for me, Rodgers got a goal and Sar got nothing really. Reinders, disappointing for him, was subbed off after 58 minutes, and then he didn't even play in the Champions League game in midweek, so I'm a bit worried about him long term now. But anyways, we'll get to that in the plans for Game Week 9. Haaland, fantastic captaincy choice. You should never go against him as captain, whether you're on a free hit or not. I'm going to get more into that later as well, but Haaland is just fantastic right now. Can't say the same for Gyökeres and Bowen, but Gyökeres did score at least twice in the Champions League, so I think I have a little bit more faith in him now. I still have a lot of faith in him, but I think Saka is still the better option. But I'm still going to have to weigh up whether I want to do a double move to bring in Saka rather than Gyökeres. That's also something I'm going to talk about more in the plans for Game Week 9. Bowen also, I had such high hopes for him for these next 4 games, or this Game Week 8 through Game Week 11, basically. Brentford at home was one of the main reasons for that, and West Ham just looked awful. So yeah, I don't really know. He has Leeds now away next game week, and then he might very well be sold for the next game week after that. But I might also keep him from Burnley in Game Week 11. I think that's also a great fixture, and maybe Nuno Espirito Santo will have found some answers, which he didn't find at all against Brentford, where he just completely missed everything that he could miss when it comes to the team selection and substitutions and tactics and everything, really. The bench was really not that good. 2 points from Sels, 3 points from Richards, 2 points from Senesi, 2 points from King. That's how you like it when you bench players, I guess. But at the same time, I want these guys to be good assets, but I still think Richards and Senesi are good assets, and King is just super cheap to have on the bench, and he gets 2 points reliably every single game week as well. So yeah, that was my Game Week 8 score. 74 points, 49k overall. Really happy with that. Still have my wildcard left to play, and also have 2 million in the bank, and now I have I still have just 1 free transfer as well, sadly, for next game week, which is hampering me a bit when it comes to my plans, but we'll get to that eventually. But first, let's take a look at my free hit team, which did not go as well. 51 points on the free hit. So yeah, my free hit selections this season have just been terrible, and I think this, people could almost accuse me of doing bad on the free hits on purpose just to make this point, but I've made this point since preseason that people overestimate how much points you'll get from the free hit, like the actual free hit team that you're selecting. For me, the free hit is more about selecting a team, or having a game week where you don't have to worry about your team long term in that game week. So that's what I did in Game Week 3. I mentioned this a couple times in other videos already. When Arsenal faced Liverpool, I had 4 assets from that game, and I used a free hit to avoid all of them. And then I brought in some Man United players at home to Burnley, which was a really nice fixture, and some Newcastle players who basically were guaranteed a clean sheet in their game as well. Can't even remember who they played that game week, but either way, Leeds I think it was. But yeah, that's the point I keep making. The free hit score is usually pretty bad, as you can see from my free hit overall rank. If you don't know, if you're new to this channel, I do a free hit selection every week, and I tally up the points. And so far for my free hit selections from Game Week 1 through Game Week 8, my overall rank would have been 2.1 million. And my current overall rank without unlimited transfers, which is what you essentially get with free hits, I have 49k overall rank. So yeah, I think just thinking long term, especially now early season where a lot has been unpredictable. We've had some teams that have put up stinkers that we didn't expect, like Aston Villa, for example, early season. We've had some newly promoted teams that we did expect to be bad, but then they've been pretty good, actually. So it's been a really strange, it's been really difficult to choose players early season, and it's better to just have a long-term outlook and pick good players that you can trust rather than going with the best in the moment assets in that particular game week. But yeah, anyways, the free hit score, the main reasons for it being bad, like I mentioned or I alluded to earlier, captaining someone else than Haaland right now is just stupid. I captained Salah against Man United at home. He usually does really well in that fixture, and he had several chances to score in that game and get an assist and get many points in that game. So in that regard, like I said with the transfer for Rodgers to Sarr, in that regard, it sort of wasn't the worst decision to captain him, I guess. But at the same time, he's just completely out of form. Haaland is completely in form. He's just absolutely fantastic. So backing against Haaland as captain is always a dumb idea, and I learned that the hard way again. Luckily for me, it doesn't hamper my squad, my actual rank myself, but if anyone of you guys watched my video last week and captain Salah over Haaland because of my videos, I sincerely apologize. That was just a bad move on my part, but hopefully that's what I also emphasize with these videos. These are just my thoughts and my impressions going into the game week. Don't take my word as gospel, despite me having a good rank and a good rank history. I don't make every single decision perfect, and I did not with this captaincy choice. So I apologize for that if anyone was affected by that. But hopefully not. I'm still a pretty small YouTube channel, so hopefully that works to my advantage in this case. But anyways, I think overall I make pretty good predictions in terms of what's going to happen and pretty good suggestions for you guys. But that one was not it. Also, the goalkeeper, I had Dubravka starting for my own team. I had Darlow because I thought Leeds would have a better chance of a clean sheet in this game, and I think that's actually sort of indicated. Leeds were the better side in that game, but Burnley had two really outstanding moments. Kyle Walker crossing the ball into the box for a really nice goal for Ugo Chukwu, and also a really nice shot from Chowana, who was scored one of the goals of the season so far. But Leeds were the better team in that game. I think Darlow, usually if you play that game 10 times over and over again, he's going to get more clean sheets and more points in total in FPL than Dubravka, but this time it was one of those instances where it went the other way. Darlow got 1 point, conceded twice, and didn't really do much else, and Dubravka got 9 points with a lot of saves, saves into the post and out. He was really close to conceding, but yeah, Dubravka was the better starter in terms of points, at least there. But at the very least, I have Kukurea. He's one of the guys that I didn't have in my squad for my own team, who did well. He got 8 points. He's just a really good asset in general, who's been a bit forgotten. And I think he hasn't had a single goal or an assist yet. And that is something that's going to change eventually because he's such an attacking player, plays in such attacking positions. So kind of like Munoz, who's exploded the last few game weeks with goals and assists. I think the same could sort of happen with Kukurea now, with especially the good fixtures that Chelsea have going forward. So he's a really good pick and was really good for my Game Week 8 free hit suggestion as well. But other than that, not too much in terms of points. The Arsenal defenders, of course, as always, Gabriel and Timber getting 18 points in total, and Haaland with 13 points as my vice captain, which is again a bad choice. And also, it wasn't really that good when it comes to alternatives either, or it was pretty bad when it comes to alternatives as well. Usually when my free hit score has been bad, I have had some other pretty good alternative players, but here as well, all of them blank, and Guardiola didn't even play, got 0 points here. So yeah, I'm just going to hold my hands up. This was a really bad free hit selection, and I'm going to try to rectify that with my free hit selection for Game Week 9. But I sort of get why you wouldn't trust me that much, because my free hit selections have been pretty bad so far this season. But I'm going to try to justify every single pick, as I always do on this channel. So let's move on to the free hit team for Game Week 9. And this is currently what I have. And I think for what it's worth, this game week is easier to choose from than last game week, because this game week you have a lot of good home fixtures in general. I think there's a lot of good assets. You can't really go that much wrong with this team. But at the same time, if you're looking to free hit or not this game week, I don't think your team is going to be that bad, most likely either, because there are just a lot of pretty good fixtures, but no outstanding fixtures, and no really terrible fixtures either in most cases, at least. But yeah, I'll go through the game, or go through the team, I guess, from goalkeeper through all the attackers and the bench. In goal, I have gone with Nick Pope from Newcastle. Yes, they conceded twice last game week against Brighton, but that is Brighton, who keeps scoring every single game week. I think Fulham at home, Fulham team that still doesn't have a starting striker completely ready to play. I think that has a good chance for a clean sheet, so Pope is still my favorite goalkeeper in the moment in FPL in general, both for wildcard and for free hit. But again, goalkeepers are not the best, like the most important part of the Premier League. So let's move on to, or Fans Premier League. So let's move on to some other players. I still have Gabriel in defense. He's just been too good lately, scoring and assisting in the Champions League as well against Atletico Madrid. When they can beat Atletico Madrid 4-0, and Gabriel would essentially get what? Goal, assist, 3 bonus points, clean sheet. Probably not DEFCON in that game, but like he would have gotten so many points in FPL from that Atletico Madrid game. And Palace, as good as they are, they're not as good as Atletico Madrid. So yeah, he can score against anyone. So yeah, I've just kept Gabriel because he's just a fantastic player all around. Cucurella, I've picked him again. Sunderland at home should be a good chance for a clean sheet, and also maybe one of those attacking returns from Cucurella that I just talked about. He's a fantastic pick. Senesi against Nottingham Forest at home with Sean Dyche. Like, I think this is like one of the best clean sheet potential games as well. If I had the availability to pick 4 Bournemouth players, I would have picked another defender probably, but I have 2 other pretty good attacking assets I think for that game as well. Saka against Crystal Palace at home. I think he's just in good form currently. He didn't really do much in the Champions League game that I mentioned against Atletico Madrid, but he's always there. He's on penalties, most likely, we assume at least. And he is just like always looking good for Arsenal and creating a lot of chances. So yeah, he is a decent point getter for them regardless of who they face, and I think he's going to be a good asset this game week as well. Semenyo is now 8.1 in terms of value, so he's actually even more valuable than Mbeumo, who's the other midfielder that I have. But Semenyo has just been so good this season, and now he has one of his best fixtures in a while against Nottingham Forest at home, so he's just an easy choice. Also like the easy vice captain pick as well. If it was still Ange Postecoglou's Bournemouth, and Bournemouth, Ange Postecoglou's Nottingham Forest that he faced, and also for the fact that I didn't just miss completely on the captaincy pick, I would have potentially considered a Semenyo captaincy pick, but just stick with Haaland captain. He is just an amazing form, but Semenyo is still a great player for what it's worth. I'm going with Mbeumo as the Man United asset against Brighton at home, but as you can see from the alternative that I have, you could also go with Fernandes. I really like Man United assets in this game. They are pretty good going forward, and they have some really nice enticing picks in those positions as well, and I think Mbeumo will do really well this game week, which bodes well for my team because I have him still in my team as well. So yeah, Mbeumo's a great pick. Enzo Fernandez, another player who's going to be super popular this week as a transfer, and for good reason. He's going to play in the number 10 role. He's going to be on penalties. He played 45 minutes in the Champions League, scored a penalty, and got subbed off, which is ideally what you would want to see from someone coming back from injury. I think he's going to play most of the game, if not the whole game. Going to be on penalties, going to play attacking positions, and going to play a Sunderland team that haven't been that good away from home, at least this season. They are solid defensively, but I think Enzo could easily score in this game, so I do quite like him for this game, and maybe enough for me to bring him into my own team as well. Then we have in the front 3, we have Haaland, of course, as the captain. No questions asked there after last week's failure of a captain's pick with Salah. Haaland is the captain. No questions asked, no reason to talk about it really. Voltemade is someone that I really, really like for this game week. So if you have like a nice combination of transfers so you can bring in Voltemade, I think that makes sense this game week. Fulham at home is a really good game to do so. Against Fulham without Anderson as well, like Voltemade is just a really good pick. Krupi Jr. as well. Scored twice when he started last time around, and I think he's going to start again with Evan Nilsson most likely out. So he's my pick for the forward line as well from Bournemouth. I think they have a good chance of scoring a lot of goals against Nottingham Forest. Yes, Sean Dyche is back in the team, but they are going to struggle a bit going back to another different type of football as well, with really low confidence there in that squad. So I still think Bournemouth is a really good team to have players from. Also in attack this game week with Krupi Jr. as my final striker. In my bench, I have Dubravka again as my bench option against Wolves away. I'm going to start him in my own team for what it's worth, but I think Pope is just a better choice like for a better team this time around. So but yeah, Dubravka is still a good option, but I also have Menezzi as a different guy potentially to start in attack. He's my first bench option. Burnley at home is the best fixture in the season, really. And I think Menezzi has looked really good and impressive for Wolves, one of the few good players from that team actually so far this season. I also have Strand Larsen as an alternative as a frontline player, as a striker, but he hasn't scored so far this season. But maybe Burnley is the time for him to score some goals in that game, because Burnley haven't really been that impressive going forward this season, apart from a couple of nice goals like last game week, for example. Gudmundsson again in defense. He didn't really do much for me on the bench or coming off the bench last time around. But I think he is still going to be a good asset against West Ham, who looked dreadful against Brentford. Wouldn't be too surprised to see West Ham like turn it back again and be a bit better against Leeds. Like it can't be that much worse. But also West Ham played on Monday, so they're going to have a short turnaround. So I think Leeds assets are actually pretty good in this game. So if you have the likes of Calvert-Lewin, he's a decent option. Stach still, even though he's not a good FPL asset, he might be good in this game. West Ham keep conceding goals from central midfielders as well, so he could be a good asset to start or bench boost with. And Gudmundsson going to be a good defensive asset who goes forward and has a chance for bonus points as well. But Dan Burn as the final defender as well. Newcastle against Fulham, I think that's a pretty good chance for a clean sheet, so he's my final bench player there. But you could go with Timber also as a double up for the Arsenal defense. They're just that good. Like they can keep out any team. They kept out Atletico Madrid, who scored 5 goals against Real Madrid not too long ago. So they are just a tremendous defense now, Arsenal. So going double Arsenal defense makes a lot of sense in any game week. And I might, again, lose out on my free hit draft compared to my regular team because I have 2 Arsenal defenders in my regular team. But I think Cucurella and SC Gabriel is a good choice of players, and I think there are so many good attacking players. But if you want to go for Timber rather than someone like Rupert Jr. as your starter, you could do that, of course. You could downgrade Manetzi and save money elsewhere and get Timber in the defense and start with 4 defenders. I think that's a good strategy as well, but I think Rupert Jr. has a good chance against Nottingham Forest also. Fernandes I had as an alternative rather than Mbeumo if you want to go with him instead, but Mbeumo is a bit cheaper, and also I think he might be a bit better as well because he's more attacking than Fernandes, even though Fernandes has penalties still. Strand Larsen I already mentioned as a striker option. He's also a good option to go for if you want to go with him, but yeah, I don't really trust Wolves enough going forward this season to pick him in the squad, but he is another decent alternative if you want to go for a different striker than the ones that I've picked for you in this free hit draft. So that's pretty much it for the free hit draft. Hopefully I can do better in that regard as well, but hopefully I can also do really good again with my own team, which we're going to look into now. So these are my Game Week 9 plans as it stands right now. You can see I have a couple transfer options there. And the main option is selling Reinders, who, like I said, I'm a bit worried about. He was subbed off early in the league game last weekend, and then in the Champions League he didn't even play. So is he just drops from the team? I don't really know. I don't think so. He's a really talented and good player. I think he's played really well for what it's worth lately. Maybe he just needs like a full rest, and maybe they thought that they can do without him in the Champions League and be fine. That could be the case. So maybe he just got a nice rest for a week now, but yeah, a little bit worried about him. Also playing an Aston Villa team that have been pretty good defensively lately, away from home. So yeah, I'm not too confident in Reinders, not too confident in starting him. I might even start Sarr just to have like a different player, but I have double Arsenal defense, so I feel like it's a bit counterintuitive to go with a Palace attacker when you have 2 Arsenal defenders. But maybe I should hedge my bets and just go with Sarr because he's been really good this season. But yeah, I think I'm going to start with Reinders for now if I keep him. So currently my first option, my best option as it stands right now, in my opinion, is to just stand pat and save my transfer because I really want to do a double move next week to bring in Saka in that midfield. But I might not do that either, especially after Gyökeres scored twice in the Champions League. I feel a bit better with keeping him rather than going to Saka. But I do really want Mateta next week. That's like the main thing. And to get Mateta, I would have to sell either Gyökeres or Bowen. It would most likely be Gyökeres and then bring in Saka in midfield. But if I do that, if I bring in Mateta for Gyökeres and Saka in midfield for Reinders, then I would have to sell Bowen anyway to fund the move and go for like a striker like a Thiago or a Welbeck potentially next game week. So I'm not sure if I like that either, and I do quite like the alternatives I have in midfield here for Reinders. I could go with a more short-term pick in Enzo Fernandez. He's going to be really good now for at least up until game week 12. Game week 12. But it depends also what I'm going to do with my wildcard strategy. If I'm currently sticking to my current wildcard strategy, which I talked about earlier in the week in the first video that I made this week, you can go check that out as well with my future plans. In that video, I talked about using the wildcard in game week 15 and having 5 transfers in game week 16 with the ideal team going forward. I think that's still my preferred option in terms of how I'm going to spend my wildcard chip in the first half of the season. And if that's the case, I think Gakpo is just a better long-term pick than Enzo. I think he has better fixtures from game week 13 to 15 especially. That's when Liverpool, or game week 12 to 15, that's when Liverpool have, or 12 to 14 I should say, that's when Liverpool have really, really, really outstanding fixtures. And that's where I would want Gakpo. But even now, like Brentford away, Aston Villa at home, and City away aren't the worst fixtures for an attacker either. So I do quite like Gakpo. I have enough money in the bank to do so. I have 2 million in the bank. So yeah, I could do Reinders to Gakpo. Seems like a good move. I could also just do Reinders to Enzo, which is the more safe move, I guess. He's still going to be a decent long term because Palmer's still going to be out for a while, which potentially even until game week 13-ish. But that's why I quite like Gakpo more long-term, because Palmer's going to come into the team eventually, and that's going to severely reduce the value of Enzo. So yeah, if I want to do a long-term move, I think it's more Gakpo. I want to have a Liverpool player as well from Game Week 12. I could be a bit locked out of that if I do the other plan of standing pat and doing Gyökeres to Mateta and trying to get Reinders to Saka. That would leave me with so many good midfielders that I might not be able to get Gakpo either eventually when they have those good fixtures from Game Week 12 onwards. So currently, I think I'm leaning more towards option 3 than option 2, actually, just because of the long-term plans for my team. But I do think Enzo is the better short-term pick, especially if you're looking to wildcard soon, or if you just want to have a good pick for now. Enzo is a good choice, but yeah, plenty of different decisions I could do there. But Reinders is the only player that I'm looking to sell potentially this game week, because I do quite like most of the other players that I have, apart from the West Ham players, but they also have good fixtures, so I don't really stress too much with keeping them. But yeah, let's go through the team. Dubravka in goal, good choice. I've had him on the free hit selection as well. I'm not going to talk too much about that. Gabriel and Timber, really good as well. Like I mentioned, conceded 0 goals against Atletico Madrid. They can do the same against Palace. Senesi against Forest at home. He was also in the free hit draft. A no-brainer for me. Juve against Leeds. I mean, it's not the ideal fixture, but I think people have this inclination of when someone gets benched, that means they're a terrible asset now going forward. And in the case of Reinders, that could be the case. I'm not quite sure if he's going to be a starting player anymore, but Juve, we know, is the starting left back for West Ham. He just got rested, basically. And now he got his rest, so now he's going to play every single game going forward. So I wouldn't really be too worried about him not starting anymore, because, yeah, I think Nuno Espirito Santo quickly realized that El Hadji Malik Diouf is someone that you want to have starting in your team. So yeah, he is a decent start against at least team that still struggled to score and couldn't score against Burnley. Semenyo and Mbeumo both in my free hit selection. Outstanding picks. Reinders, who I'm the most unsure about, of course. I couldn't just start Sar instead. Tempted to do that, but I'm also just pretty tempted as I'm talking through this team now to just do Reinders to Gakpo and have a really good Liverpool asset, which is not something a lot of people have currently. So that is tempting me. Haaland captain, easy choice. Gyökeres, I still like him. That's the other thing I have to decide when it comes to my transfer. Do I want to keep Gyökeres long term, or is it a priority for me to bring in Saka? Because I know I'm going to want to get Mateta next game week. If I have one transfer or two, regardless, I'm going to get Mateta next game week, either for Gyökeres or Bowen. But I'm going to use this game week 9, as a audition for both Gyökeres and Bowen, and also, of course, Saka and the other players to prove their worth in my team currently. Also with Mbeumo, he's another player that I could sell to bring in Saka as well. He has his best fixture now in the next few game weeks at home to Brighton this game week. But after that, Nottingham Forest away could be a good fixture. But if they look a lot better under Sean Dyche, I'm not going to be as confident in that going forward. And then they have Aston Villa away, I think. Everton, they have some other tricky-ish fixtures, Man United. So I don't feel too bad about selling Mbeumo, but I also quite like him as a differential now going forward in my team. So I ideally wouldn't want to sell him either. So yeah, I have a lot of decisions to do when it comes to my future transfer plans. Gakpo is tempting. Every time I look at it, it's more and more tempting. But of course, it's also more short-sighted in terms of doing a transfer now rather than having 2 transfers next game week, which I ideally would want to have. Because ideally, I would want to bring in Mateta as a striker and get Saka in midfield. But yeah, I don't have the money to go from Reinders to Saka if I do that move. So that's the thing that's holding me back the most from just standing pat as well. But yeah, this is probably very convoluted for someone like you watching this video without knowing my team and my proper plans and stuff. You can check out my video early in the week, but yeah, I'm just thinking out loud and trying to justify for myself what I'm going to do rather than potentially giving you advice, which is probably not the right thing to do in an FPL video anyways. But yeah, when it comes to my bench, I have Sells against Bournemouth away. Never going to start him over Dubravka in this game week. Sar and Richards as well against Arsenal away. I'm just going to bench them. Last time I did that with Haaland, not benching Haaland, but not captaining Haaland and benching Reinders. That didn't really work out when they played Arsenal, but I think that's just a fluke because Arsenal don't really concede many goals, and they do keep scoring goals every single game. So I think Sar and Richards are pretty easy bench players, and King also away to Newcastle is not a good fixture for him either, so he's also a nice player to just have on the bench. So yeah, that's my full team and my full thoughts when it comes to all the transfer suggestions and stuff like that. All 3 are still an option. To do Reinders to Enzo is still an option, but I think I want to do more long-term. Gakpo could be the better choice. But I could also, with all the transfers that I have available, I'm going to use my free transfers all the way up until Game Week 15 if I do that tactic, because you get 5 extra transfers in Game Week 16. So when I do my wildcard in Game Week 15, I want to just have 1 free transfer available and not have any like burnt transfers that I haven't used. So I will have the chance to go from Enzo to Gakpo eventually anyways. I could use my future transfers on that and just go with Enzo short term because it's going to be a good pick. And maybe Palmer is going to be out for longer as well. We don't really know. He's been still like coming back from injury and going back out on the sideline again. Like, we don't know he's going to come back at any point. Like, we know for now that Enzo is going to be an outstanding pick while Palmer's out, so I might just do that option as well. I almost talked myself into that option now also. But for now, standing pat is probably where I'm leaning towards just to get that Mateta move, but I need to really think about this in total. But anyways, I'm going to do that off camera instead and just allow you to go about with your day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching as always. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment down below with what you think I should do, and also just any other questions about your team. I'm going to try to get back to you all in the comments as I always do. And with all that, thank you for watching again. See you next time. Bye bye.